Hello, this is John. I'm still working on that world domination, but I'm back with another HO Scale DCC installation. This is an Atlas MP15DC, and I'm going to install an 8-pin HO Select Micro Decoder and add sound to it. As you can see, I've artfully arranged some modeling tools. These are the tools I expect to need for this project. I have the locomotive itself, of course, a decoder, a speaker, some sheet styrene. This is 020 sheet styrene, liquid plastic cement, a hobby knife, needle nose pliers, a screwdriver, a file, and a soldering iron. If I need anything else, I guess you'll see it in the video, but this is what I'm planning to use. And let's get started. Someone asked on the channel recently about modeling on a budget, and that's what I do. And here's a great example of that. I had this piece of foam, which was just a squarish rectangular thingy, and I actually cut out this channel in it so that it could serve as my locomotive cradle. So here we go. Just got to be careful with this stuff so you don't break anything. Right now, there's some guys in the cab there going, "Whoa, what's going on, man?" The first thing I have to do to take the shell off is to remove both couplers. I'm using this container to hold all the pieces I'm taking off the locomotive. That way I don't lose anything. Now that I got the couplers off, I can carefully take the locomotive out of my cradle and also carefully pull it apart. This model has a provision for a speaker sort of built in right here. And the trick for me is going to be figuring out how to fit a square or rectangular speaker into what's mostly an oval shaped opening. So the first thing I'm going to do is get the LED out of the way. It's taped down with some light blocking tape here. So I get this out of here. And then the speaker enclosure part sort of just lifts out of here. So this is what I have to work with. This cover and then this opening. And ideally, I want my speaker to face downward so that if it has an opening, it's pointing down toward the gear tower here. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge trying to figure out how to stick it in there and have it fit, because the clearance that this has height-wise is a little bit of a challenge. It's not terribly deep. Now, it is fairly deep if you were to file out some of the opening here, but this is the challenge, and this is what I'm going to have to figure out how to do. So I'm going to take a look at this and come back when I have an idea of how I want to proceed. The speaker I want to use is a little deeper than the enclosure that it came with. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to figure a way to mount the speaker in a way that this clearance here below this little support structure and the gear tower can be exploited. And this is why I mentioned in the beginning of the program that I was going to use sheet styrene. I'm going to build something that actually will hold the speaker but dip down below this horizontal piece here. That way it'll have space on top here for the light to go back where it needs to go to shine out that end of the locomotive. There's a little screw here, and this whole piece can be removed if you take that screw off and then just pry these little parts where it's held on here. So I'm going to take it off and see if there's something I can do to modify this piece itself. And we'll see where that gets us. Just using a small screwdriver to get wedged under there. And then I have to note the orientation of these wires. There are little slots on this plastic piece I'm about to remove that feed right there. I've assembled the speaker. It's part number 50321. That's an ESU speaker. And it's in the sort of small configuration, just because there's really not a lot of room in this locomotive. And I think that I can probably just set it down sort of on top of this oval that sits on top of the gear tower. Then on the lid, I just need to file away a little bit of the plastic that goes around the edges here so that the speaker can push up through this opening here, and it should work. So I'm going to file just a little bit of material off of this round part of the top of the enclosure that came with the model. This speaker will fit in here now, which is fine, but it kind of rests up a little bit. You see how there's see how it's sticking up there? And I kind of want it to be flush. Now, before I go through any more trouble, because what I'm thinking right now is to file away some of this bottom oval around here so that this will drop into it. And then this is what I wanted that styrene for, because I was going to put some styrene down here to hold it. And I may still put the styrene down there just to hold it anyway, because I don't want this dropping down into the gearbox, or the gear tower rather. But my point though is that I'm kind of worried about the height of this because it's sticking up as far as it is, but I'm pretty sure that I can fit the light back on here and tape it back down, and it should work okay. So I'm going to do some test fitting real quick and see what I'm working with here, and I'll know what the next step is after that. All right, this is cool. After doing some test fitting, I kind of reassembled stuff and checked where things go and what clearances I have. I've determined I don't really need these two little pegs, this area where I filed it down. So I'm just going to cut those off with my flush cutters. That's a tool that I didn't mention I need, but now you know. I suppose you could just file it down. But the point is I'm going to get rid of this. That way I'll have space to set the light back in here where it's held, and should be okay. I should have enough clearance for the speaker and the light too. So this is going to be a little easier than I'd hoped. And then while I'm at it, I am going to put a piece of styrene. I'm going to glue it to the bottom of this. That way the speaker doesn't have a chance to fall down into the gear tower. Okay, so I've installed my piece of styrene there to keep the speaker from falling down onto the gear tower. And I think I'm ready to put this back together now. So it's just a matter of putting the support back on and feeding the wires that come from the track power from the trucks back into the slots where they go, and then putting the screw back in. Then I'll put the cover back on and put the speaker where it belongs. And I'm probably going to end up taping it in there, but for now it's ready to be wired, and I can get the decoder plugged in now. It's kind of funny. I'm realizing I probably should have put the decoder on while I still had all these wires free, but I'll make it work. Yeah, it would have been a lot easier. Just got to very carefully remove the dummy plug here. Hey, I did it. So now here's the other fun part. And I'm sure there's a way to do this. I just don't remember. I'm going to have to read up or take a look and see. I need to remember what orientation the 8-pin plug goes in here, because it's symmetrical on both sides. So I have the answer. The computer board on the model is numbered. And the one in this corner is numbered number 1. So now I need to figure out which pin on the 8-pin plug on the decoder is number 1. And I'm sure the answer is easy to find because it's color-coded. So I'm going to go to the internet and find out which color should be number 1 on the plug. It's just that simple. You know what? I didn't even have to go to the internet. There's something called an owner's manual. And the decoder came with one. Imagine that. And the answer to the question is The orange wire is number 1. So I now have my orientation. So basically this is what we're looking at, just like this. Now I'm going to have to very carefully position the decoder plug under those wires that you see there that I should have, like I said before, I should have done this while all this stuff was taken apart. And I may end up taking it apart still again, but at least I know how it goes in. Thanks to the wonderful user's manual. Gee, thanks ESU for including the user's manual for someone like me who doesn't look at stuff like that. It's actually very helpful. Well, I took it apart again. So I have access now. But it's a good thing I did take it apart because I found out that the little piece of styrene I stuck on that oval thing wasn't sticking with my liquid styrene cement. So I'm going to use some CA to glue that, and hopefully it'll stay then. If the CA glue doesn't hold it, I'm going to have to come up with a different solution to preventing the speaker from falling down onto the gear tower. And remember what I said about moving the wires over? Boy, is that much easier now. I actually can do this without any kind of worry of messing something up. I almost don't even need glasses for this. And I'll just put this little shelf thing back in, and I'll replace that screw up front here, and we'll move on with the installation. Now, it's just coming back together slowly here, but it'll happen. There's my little speaker enclosure thing. And I'm going to put the speaker just like this. And then eventually the light's going to just be taped down here where it gets held, where I showed you where it came off earlier. But I need to connect the speaker wires from the decoder to the speaker first. And there's a couple ways to do this. This speaker actually has 2 little spring-loaded dealy bobs here, which I showed on the U36B install video. And I'm thinking I'll just use those. That way I don't need to solder anything. And then I can get the sounds loaded into this decoder and give it a test run. Make sure it's working okay. I'm going to put the light down. Carefully retape it using the tape that they had on it to begin with. And then I'm going to put this on the track and see how it sounds. Make sure everything's working the way it's supposed to. I've put the locomotive on a test track and connected it to the loc programmer. I'm going to see if the loc programmer realizes there's something there. Did you see that little movement of the motor? That means that the decoder is being read by the programmer. So the loc programmer has come back with the correct decoder. Let's see how this thing sounds. So it sounds okay, but it does seem a little staticky or something. And I don't know, that might be because the speaker's kind of loose in there. But the thing is, the speaker's its own thing. It's all enclosed in itself. So I have to decide if I'm happy with it the way it is. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to go onto ESU's website and go ahead and download the sound file for this locomotive, and I will install that sound file onto the decoder, and I will use that time, because it takes about a half hour to do that. I'll use that time to decide what I want to do with this. And here's the other thing that I'm thinking of right now, and this is something that you may have to decide for yourself at some point. What I'm thinking is, even if I don't like the sound right now, my goal here is to install the decoder and have sound. I'm not worried as a new person about the sound being perfect. I'm worried about it working. I know that as I gain more experience and more understanding of how to do these things, that I can always come back and fix things even better later as I get better at what I'm doing. And you may recall from the U36B that I'm not really happy with the lights in that locomotive. I'm pretty happy with the sound. I thought it sounded really good, but I know I can make it sound better because it has a lot more room for a bigger speaker enclosure. But I bring that up because I can do the same thing with this one. I can make it work for now and use it until I'm tired of the way it sounds. And then eventually, when I'm more confident and know more of what I'm doing, I can open it up again and fix all this stuff or improve all this stuff. So, like I said, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect right now. It just has to be good. And I think it is. Okay, so it's all done loading the sounds. About 30 minutes later here. I'm going to turn the sounds on and let's see what it sounds like. I am a little concerned about this one purple wire just hanging around. It's stripped and tinned, and I don't want it shorting anything. So I'm going to cut it a little bit shorter just to get the tip off of it and tuck it in someplace. All right, I got it taped down. I just hope I can fit the shell back on. Here goes. Oh boy. Please work. Oh. I gotta pick it up. I'll come back when it's on. You know, it's funny. This is only a couple seconds later. It went on quite easily. So there's more space in there than I thought. Kind of makes me wonder if I could have fit a bigger speaker in there. But like I said before, this is just making it work now. And when I get better, maybe I'll do more. Let's get the couplers back on here. It actually sounds better than I'd hoped it would. I don't even think I'll have to fix it. That's how good it sounds. Might be hard to tell on the camera here, but it does sound very good. I think I'll take it to the SBHRS and give it a test run. Alright, so I'm at the SBHRS now, and it's a Saturday morning. Pretty busy, lots of people here. I'm able to get it out on the main line, and I'm going to do some run-bys here. I've borrowed a couple of cars from the club layout, including one of the track cleaners they have. I figure I might as well make myself useful if I'm going to pull something around the layout anyway. Remember last time there was a guy named Gunther who had Kraus Maffei locomotives. This time he brought a U50. Huge thing. There's a lot of stuff you don't see every day. Gunther's going to park on this siding here so he can go have lunch. I'll finish my run and give you some final thoughts here. So, one thing I will say is that I really enjoy working on HO scale stuff. The parts are bigger and easier to deal with than N scale. This locomotive turned out a lot better than I thought it was going to there for a minute when I first turned on the sound. I'm still going to put it on my list for improvements later on though, because I think I can make it sound better. And I don't really like the color of the headlights that it came with. I want to thank Atlas, ESU, and the SBHRS, especially the other HO scalers who gave me enough space to take my run-by shots on a busy morning when they were open to the public. Once again, I want to remind you, this is only my second DCC installation in an HO scale model, and it turned out pretty good, which just goes to show you, if I can do this, you can too. Thanks for watching, and make it a great day.